Welcome to Gnome on the Roam story time. We're at Hartford Orchard today. We're in the apple orchard today, and I'm going to read some fun stories that feature apples. Our first story is called The Terrible Plot by Ursula Dubasarski. 6 little rabbits down by the lake munching on carrots and chocolate cake. Yummy. Next to the lake, in a tree up high, a round red apple swings in the sky. Soft as the wind and the tree bends low, the round red apple is all aglow. Suddenly comes a terrible plop. Up jump the rabbits. Hop, hop, hop. They shout to each other, "Run! Don't stop! We must get away from the terrible plop!" "Wait, little rabbits," calls the fox as they pass. "Where are you hopping to so very fast?" But the rabbits cry back, "We cannot stop, we must get away from the terrible plop." "The terrible plop?" thinks the fox in fear. "Maybe I better get out of here." What do you think made that terrible plopping sound? Should they be afraid? "Goodbye, friend monkey, I cannot stop, I must get away from the terrible plop." He runs with the rabbits, the monkey and the cat, the pig and the elephant, the tiger and the bat. Soon all the animals, one by one, out of the forest they come at a run. Out comes the leopard, out comes the goose, out comes the antelope, and out comes the moose. They do not stay, they do not stop. They run, run, run from the terrible plop. Silly animals. At last they come to the big brown bear, sunning himself in a folding chair. "What's this?" says the big brown bear with a frown. "Where are you running to? Stop! Slow down!" "No, no, brown bear, we cannot stop. We must get away from the terrible plop." "The terrible plop? What do I care about a silly old plop?" yawns the big brown bear. "Oh no, brown bear," they cry. "You're wrong. The plop is fierce, the plop is strong. It's coming to get us, it's coming, you'll see." "What?" growls the brown bear. "The plop is stronger than me. Do you agree?" And he grabs with his paw at the one coming last, the littlest rabbit who's not so very fast. The littlest rabbit with the littlest hop, but the greatest fear of the terrible plop. "Now, little rabbit, you show me where is the place of the plop," snarls the big brown bear. Mustn't make that bear angry. "Oh no, big bear, don't make me go. I'm very afraid of the plop, you know." "Afraid of the plop? You show me where or I'll eat you up," roars the big brown bear. "Poor little rabbit, blink, 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 poor little rabbit, think, think, think. I'm afraid of the plop, I'm afraid of the bear, but the bear's here and the plop is there." Oh dear. Brave little rabbit, hop, 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 back to the lake and the terrible plop. Big brown bear slowly comes to a stop. "So where," says the bear, "is this terrible plop?" Can you guess where the terrible plop came from? This tree over here? The sun is soft, the water's still, an evening wind rolls down the hill. Tall and dark stands the big brown bear. dark and strong with his nose in the air. Next to the lake in a tree up high, a round red apple swings in the sky. Suddenly comes a terrible plop! But this time the rabbit does not hop. The wind rolls down from the top of the hill, but this time the littlest rabbit sits still and turns to speak to the big brown bear. But the big brown bear is not there. Where did the bear go? The rabbit calls out to the big brown bear. Here's his foot over here. Where are you going, bear? Oh, where? The bear cries back, I cannot stop, quick, it's coming, the terrible plop. Oh no, the bear's scared. Oh, so one little rabbit, now down by the lake, is happily munching on his chocolate cake. All this running should really stop. Who's afraid of a silly old plop? So now we know the secret. What was the terrible plop? You're right, it was the apple. This apple story features a mouse. It's called A New House for Mouse by Peter Horacek. Here's our mouse. He's happily getting out of bed. Look, he has books on the floor. I wonder what he's reading. The little mouse peers out of his house. And one day as he looked out of the tiny hole where she lived, she saw a big apple. And she said, I would like an apple to eat. I must bring it inside. She tried and tried, but she couldn't pull the apple through the tiny hole. My little house is too small, said the little mouse. I'll look for a bigger one. And so off she set. Looking for a new house makes you hungry, said the little mouse as she took a few bites of the juicy apple. Then she spotted a hole that was just a little bigger than hers. This looks just right, she said as she looked inside. But somebody was already there. Hello, Mole. I need a bigger house for my apple and me. May I live here with you? He looks pretty comfy in his chair reading his books. I wonder what stories a mole would read. I'm sorry, mumbled Mole, but my house is too full of books and I don't think there is room for both of us. I'll keep looking, said the little mouse. And off she went, and soon the little mouse felt hungry again. I'll just have a nibble, she said to herself. Then she spotted a hole that was just a little bigger than Mole's. That will be perfect, she said, and she looked inside, and someone else was living there. Who's this? You're right, it's a rabbit. Hello, rabbit, she said. I'm looking for a bigger house for my apple and me. May I live here with you? I'm sorry, twittered Rabbit, but my home is too full of cabbage and I don't think there's room for both of us. Oh, perhaps not, said Little Mouse. And off she went. But she was still hungry, so she nibbled on the apple as she went. And then she spotted another hole that was just a little bigger than Rabbit's. That will be just right, she said, and she looked inside. In this hole was a badger. Looks like he's eating, I don't know, those pillows, maybe? Hello, Badger. I'm looking for a new house for my apple and me. May we come and live with you? I'm sorry, barked the Badger, but I stretch out on my cushions all day sleeping. I don't think there's room for both of us. Perhaps not, said the little mouse. She was rather tired and still hungry, so she nibbled on the apple once again. Night was coming, and that evening she came across an enormous hole. Who do you think lives in there? This must be big enough for my apple and me, she thought. Hello, hello! Is anybody there? She shouted. I don't know, I would be a little scared to go in there. Of course, it was the home of the bear. Hello, little mouse, growled the bear. Why don't you come and live here with me? No thank you, squeak, little mouse. I think the cave's too small for you, me, and my apple. And off she ran. I would too. And she ran and she ran. She was very tired now, but pulling the apple seemed easier. What's happened to her apple? It's gotten smaller. Why did it get smaller? That's right, she kept taking bites of it on her journey. Suddenly, she saw this tiny hole. That looks perfect, she squeaked, and she looked inside. And there was no one at home. The little mouse went right in and pulled her apple behind her, and it fit perfectly. This place looks kind of familiar. Do you recognize this place? I knew I would find somewhere just right for both me and my apple, she said, and she climbed into her own bed and fell fast asleep. This time the apple fit right inside. Why do you think that happened? That's right, she kept eating the apple till it got smaller and smaller. So the mouse didn't need a new house after all. This next book I'm sharing with you is a nonfiction book about where your food comes from. It's called Blossom to Apple by Sarah Ridley. What are apples? They're yummy, of course, a tasty fruit. We eat them raw, we cook them, we squash them and make juice. But where do apples come from? As you can see, a tree. Apples are fruit of an apple tree, and they grow in gardens or orchards like this one. Most big orchards belong to fruit farmers, and there are thousands of different varieties of apple trees, and they all look and taste different. In the winter, apple trees stand bare in the orchard. The fruit farmer is pruning his apple trees, and he cuts off dead branches, as well as branches that are growing too close to each other. As the air warms up in spring, buds swell on the branches of the trees, and the first buds unfold into small green leaves. Soon after, these pink buds open into flowers called blossoms, and the air smells so good. For a few weeks, apple trees are covered in blossoms, and the blossoms contain a sugary food called nectar. Can you guess who loves nectar? It's an important insect. It's yellow and black. Of course, it's a bee. On warm, dry days, apple trees buzz with the sound of bees. The bees fly from tree to tree collecting nectar. Other insects collect nectar too. And as the bee sucks up nectar, pollen sticks to its hairy body. Some of the pollen brushes off onto the next blossom the bee visits, allowing pollination to happen and your apples to grow. Without bees, there would be no apples. Soon the blossom petals fall to the ground. Where the blossom once was, tiny apples start to grow and swell. And during the summer, the trees are covered in green leaves. The leaves make food for the trees using water, air, and sunlight. Water is soaked up under the ground by the tree roots. In early summer, apple trees lose some of their smallest apples to allow the rest to grow well. The food that reaches the apples makes them grow bigger and bigger. Warmth from the sun helps the apples to become ripe in late summer and autumn. Ripe apples will drop to the ground if farmers don't harvest them. An apple is ripe and ready for harvesting if it comes off the tree with a gentle twist. Looks like these are about ready. Fruit farmers pay pickers to harvest the apples. It is a busy time. Sometimes pickers need to use a ladder to reach the apples at the top of the trees. The pickers carefully place the apples in big crates or boxes. From there, the fruit farmers send their apples to packing houses. There, apples are washed, sorted, and packed. Can you guess where they're going next? The apples are put into bags, boxes, or trays, and they sell their apples to grocery stores or factories, where the apples are made into juice, pies, and other products. We buy apples and bring them home to eat. Apples help us stay healthy because they give us nutrients. you cut an apple in half, you will see its seeds. And you can grow an apple tree from a seed, but most people plant small trees. Before long, the young apple tree will blossom and you'll have your own apples in your own backyard. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Experts agree with this well-known phrase. They say that eating apples every day prevents illness while also helping people to digest your food better. And that's a good thing. That's a little bit about where your apples come from. And you can come and visit the orchard any day and pick your own apples. Hey kids, do you want to do an apple rhyme with me? First we're going to be a tree, and our apple's going to fall to the ground after we shake the tree. So join along with me. Way up high in the apple tree, 5 little apples smiled at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came an apple, and yum, yum, boy was it good. How many apples are up there now? 4 apples. Way up high in the apple tree, 4 little apples smiled at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came the apples. Yum, yum, boy was it good. How many apples are left? There's 3 up there. Way up high in the apple tree, 3 little apples smiled at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came the apples. Yum, yum, boy was it good. 2 apples left. Way up high in the apple tree, 2 little apples smiled at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came the apples, and boy were they good. 1 little apple left. Way up high in the apple tree, 1 little apple smiled at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came the apples, and boy was it good. How tall am I? Let's see. 5'5". Well, I hope you liked our stories today. If you come to the Hartford Apple Orchard and mention this video, you can pick 1 free apple from inside the store. Come visit us soon.